Time to take your seat.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Final Whistle, your one-stop show for the Premier League results of the weekend. And I'm joined by some fantastic special guests. It's with Brezzy. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brezzy Gunner Page, Arsenal fan, as you can tell.
And Ian.
Hi, I'm Ian, married to Man City, but my girl on the side is Crystal Palace.
And obviously, DejiSpurs, and also we are joined by Marlon Bashman. Look, gentlemen, for today's Final Whistle show, we've got a fantastic lineup for you. We've obviously got reaction to the weekend's results. There was some strange scorelines, to say the least. Then we'll look at some of the predicted scorelines given by some of the panel. Some of those predicted scorelines were wild accusations, and somebody was definitely seen red batsman. Then we'll look at the league table. And when I say the league table, we'll look at, it's obviously not financial advice, but we'll look at who is high in terms of the scoreline points in relation to score predictions. Then there's going to be a small segment on VAR and whether VAR is ruining the game of football. As you can tell, and I'm adamant that Harry Kane's goal should have stood on the weekend. And then we have another segment, but just before the end, where we're going to be looking and talking about the strange season, what we're seeing both in the Premier League and actually across Europe with some of our leading teams, and that will be led by Blue Moon Ian. Gentlemen, another weekend of football. Were there any standout performances from you before we get stuck in with the weekend's reaction? And I'm going to come over to you, Mr. Blue Moon Ian. What were the standout performances for you this weekend?
I watched 5 games on TV, and I'll come to it later, but I didn't think there were any standout performances. I saw a lot of tired teams. I didn't see much great football. I have to say, if you were a neutral this weekend, you'd have been underwhelmed by the Premier League.
Yeah, fair. And we're gonna explore that. But looking at a lot of tired teams, I think I would like to think that my team was probably tired. But to be honest, I think they were just pants on the weekend, and I'm just gonna say it out here loud and direct. Brezzy, what were your kind of thoughts from the weekend's matches?
Yeah, and I think they were pretty good. I think for me there was one standout game, and that was the Newcastle Leicester game. Obviously, Willock scoring a goal again on loan. Seems to be doing quite a good on loan. So yeah, that was the game for me really. And then also the City and Chelsea game was a good one for me.
Fantastic. Any standout matches for you?
Even though I'd go with Brezzy as well and say the Newcastle Leicester. I didn't expect that at all. I was expecting Leicester to come back with, well, I said 2 goals, but I thought it'd come back at least draw or win. But fair play to Newcastle.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to say that the first 2 games of the weekend, the Friday night football with Newcastle Leicester, the fact that Newcastle was able to get 4 goals, that was a mystery to me, and there might be something about that tiredness seeping through into the Leicester City squad. But actually trying to get a roll spanking from Leeds on the weekend wasn't very nice. That was a shock performance for me. I did have Spurs down to win 4-2. Boy, was I wrong. So look, we are going to look at the results this weekend. I'm just going to put them up for everybody to see. And as you can see here,
Wow, that looks impressive.
Newcastle versus Leicester was a 4-2 result. Leeds beating Spurs 3-1. Crystal Palace 2-0 winners. Chelsea beating Man City 2-1. Liverpool 2-0. Wolverhampton, Birmingham City, Brighton, sorry, 2-1. Man United against Villa 3-1. 1-0 Everton, 3-1 Arsenal, and Fulham and Burnley are currently playing. I just want to start with you, Marlon Bashman. You went with a 2-2, which seemed quite wild. You weren't too far off. What were your prognostics of that game, Newcastle?
I think it was more in the fact I wanted Leicester to lose or draw, lose points, because Tottenham were definitely going to beat Leeds. I think I played too much Football Manager and Championship Manager, and I'm not dealing with reality no more because Spurs are a joke.
Brezzy?
I've given up.
Sorry,
Deji, your phone is cutting out. Maybe go onto your mobile data.
I am on that.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, cool.
I do apologise there. Brezzy, your fault.
Yeah, I thought there's some good games. Obviously looking at the table, also the one I was looking forward to is obviously City and Chelsea because it was a good rehearsal for the Champions League. I was watching the Wolves and Brighton game and I actually thought if the red card didn't happen on the Brighton, I think they could have had won there. It was quite convincing. Yeah, I mean it was okay games. I mean Arsenal and West Brom. I mean, we should have beat them. It's a shame that obviously we're sort of playing okay now at the end of the season when it's nothing to play for.
Fair play. Ian as well. Your thoughts on some of the
Sorry, thoughts on which ones?
Newcastle, Leicester, and then any other of the games.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester, I do think every time I look at them, they look tired. They did this last season as well. They just don't seem to have the legs to match the Premier League and the run in the FA Cup. Newcastle seem to have got more players back, so Maximin finally recovered from COVID and doing well. When you talk about Willock on loan at Newcastle doing well, what about Jack Harrison on loan at Leeds? Why City are going to let him go to Leeds is a bit of a mystery to me. Don't get that at all. Do you want me to move on to Sheffield United Palace? I saw that one.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, it was all over in the first half. For once, Palace played beautiful open football with nothing to lose in the first half and 2 goals with Eze outstanding all the way through. I thought was a fantastic first half, getting really exciting, and then it went back to what Palace do week in, week out, which is playing fairly basic negative football in the second half. Sheffield United, I would say, they're going down and they haven't got a lot to come back up with. I like Berg. I think he's a great player. But the rest of the team, when you look at some of the other teams in, say Brighton and Fulham, who I love the way that they play football, they've got actually some good players that people would want to pick up around there. But Sheffield United, I think it's going to be a long, hard season in the Championship. Quickly, I'll comment on City against Chelsea. I don't believe it was a dress rehearsal. I think Pep is a little bit like a beautiful Ferrari car. Most of the time it goes really smooth, but when it stalls in the middle of the road, it really stalls. I was mystified. How can you make 9 changes? Okay, Chelsea made 5. He's saying Foden and Silva, who are 20 and 23 years old each, are not fit enough to start or are too knackered. And yet Kante plays, the first 70 minutes for Chelsea. I don't get it. We could have wrapped the season up there. You're not going to change 9 and then play a bonkers formation of 3-3-4 with 2 wing backs making up that midfield, just having Rodri in the centre. It was madness. And yet if Pep had cleaned it up then we could have relaxed away at Newcastle on Friday night, which won't be easy, away at Brighton. And the closer it gets to the Champions League final, the more the top players Pep's going to use. So I thought that was a bloody rubbish selection. And then, I was as furious as everyone else when Sergio Aguero, had tried to do that goofy penalty. That would have been, home and dry. But all I'd say is, no, I don't see it as a dress rehearsal, when actually the Man City team will have 9 or 10 different players to that game, and the Chelsea team will have 4 or 5 different players to that. So I think you could say maybe Pep's rope-a-dope them, or maybe he's just dropped a bollock and he should have bloody put a decent strength team up and wrapped it up. What else did I want to say? I love watching Brighton. I think they're a really exciting team. I think the lad White is a fabulous player. Bissouma is pretty good. And I thought they were unlucky against Wolves, who Neto is just an outstanding talent. What else did I watch? West Ham and Everton. Boy, they look tired. Apart from that moment from Dominic Calvert-Lewin when he thought he was Jamie Vardy and scored like Vardy. That was a great taken goal. But apart from that, it was a yawn a minute match. And then, if I could comment, on the Arsenal-West Brom. Obviously, Arsenal got out of the blocks fast. But I actually thought at 2-1, I thought I almost saw a bit of panic coming into the Arsenal team and lacking of confidence. And it epitomised to me when Pepe was through on goal coming down the right. And it just he didn't know what to do and played it straight at the goalkeeper at 2-1. But it finished off there. If I could just comment, though, on this strange season. I think it's a super strange season. I think we forget that there was only a small break in the summer, and that stop-start of the season with lots of injuries because probably of that stop-start. But I think we've got to consider the psychological factor. If you're an international player, particularly from South America, and your families are on the other side of the world, you haven't been able to see them, you are worried about them. COVID takes a different length of time in different athletes to recover from. I think it's been a really bizarre season. How bizarre a season must it be for Paris Saint-Germain not to win the French league, or to see that really poor La Liga, battle that's going on, or Juventus,
very poor,
back to Europe. I think it's just been very strange, and I think we miss the psychology of that international player and what's going on in their heads about what's going on in the rest of the world. And then the other bit, just finishing that up, is that, and I thought about it at Everton and Palace. When you've got clubs who really rely on and Liverpool, a tight home ground with passion and energy and noise, I do believe that's been one of the key factors while the Liverpool challenge fell off, the wheels fell off their attempt to regain the championship. Because I think for the likes of Spurs, less so, because I think they've got a wonderful ground. But for Arsenal, for City, for West Ham particularly, I think they haven't missed the fans as much because the fans didn't create as much an impact. But at Palace, Everton, Liverpool, those close old grounds, even Old Trafford, I think there was a bigger hit there.
I think definitely West Ham. West Ham fans get on their back. They wouldn't be as high at the table as they are if their fans are in the ground.
Yeah, point.
I
agree with that.
I would have said that Spurs would probably be in the top 3 if the fans were taken. I think the kind of theatre of dreams at White Hart Lane was built for the Spurs fans to have a kind of home advantage, and that fantastic theatre of dreams has not had any fans in there really all season. I reckon that's had a mental impact as well as a physical impact on some of the players. Just picking up, Ian, on some of my weekend results, I was shocked by Newcastle, the fact that they were able to score 4 goals and win 4-2. I agree. I think with the high pressing game that Leicester City play under Brendan Rodgers, I think that they are in that team. It happened last season. It's going to happen this season. And I see Leicester falling out of the top 4. I think for me, another result was the Spurs one. I think the VAR decision was an absolute disgrace, and whoever's in the VAR room at the time should lose their job. I think any other business, when you make a football call, you expect disciplinary action or you lose your job. And I think that I mean, we're talking fingernails now. If we've got to be deciding VAR decisions by someone's toenail, then there's something wrong with VAR altogether. And I think Spurs had a legitimate goal ruled out, and ultimately that cost them. I got the Wolves and Brighton scoreline prediction 2-1. Not financial advice, but had you stuck a tenner in that, you definitely would have got 40 quid return on that. But also, I think that one thing I can say that I picked up on the weekend's results was that where was that? And you know, Ian, you talked about there was a lack of energy amongst teams. There wasn't a lack of energy amongst Arsenal, though. They seem to have more energy against West Brom than they did against Villarreal. I mean, what's that about?
They did until West Brom scored, and then I thought they went all cacking their pants and worried. They did until what did Mike Tyson say? Everyone's got a strategy until you get punched in the face. And I thought Arsenal got punched in the face by West Brom, and their legs went wobbly. But that was just what
Exactly. But you know, those are my
sorry, Brezzy.
Brezzy, and then Marlon.
So yeah, obviously with Arsenal, obviously, you know, I can't really touch much more than what Ian was saying. You know, we came out the traps first half. We was making passes. We battered them pretty much the first half, and then you know got the goal. Great, you know, it seemed to be like you know a different kind of team. And then we conceded the goal again. You know, they was shaky. They sort of you know made a few stoppage mistakes. And then it took us to get the third one to obviously settle it all back down again. But, you know, where was that kind of passion on Thursday when we needed that fight? You know, it was just absolutely stupid. But there's not much more I can say about that, really. I've said my piece. I've done my little bit. So, you know, to my fellow Gooner, Marlon.
Fellow Gooner. I'm going to join Man City soon. I've had enough of Spurs. I'm staying blue. Yeah, I watched the Spurs game. That was just shocking. I expected better. I just think the lineup kind of throws me sometimes, but then the Spurs are a bit of a joke now. It's you might as well say it's Mason and Friends FC because he's playing some dodgy players at the moment. Dyer shouldn't be in the team itself. So, and I've got a little gripe as well. Everyone keeps saying Kane should leave Spurs because to win trophies. He's had several chances to win trophies with Spurs, and they don't turn up in these games. So he should go somewhere else and try and win trophies when you've had opportunities. I don't get that.
Who do you want as your manager, Marlon? Who do you fancy as manager?
Poch.
I
know. Seriously, I have no idea. I would personally maybe the Ajax manager. Even though I know he signed a contract.
He's not coming to Tottenham.
Yeah.
No. That was just say they just triggered another year on his contract. They might still get him.
I just think Rafa Benitez would make a great job at Spurs. He's a terrific manager. It needs a sensible, proven manager at Spurs, not a big gamble from someone in Europe.
That's true.
Do you know who I think we should go for? I had an epiphany on the weekend because obviously when Nagelsmann went to Bayern Munich and the Ajax manager did the extension, I was like thinking we are done for because I can't see Brendan Rodgers leaving. I think it would be wise for us to go for Pep and Pochettino's mentor. We need to be going for Bielsa. We need someone with his head, that kind of high pressing game. If you get Bielsa, we're back in the top four, guaranteed.
He only does 1 year contracts.
Yeah, but we can always do roles and extension. You know, just extend it each year. But I think Bielsa, he deserves a crack at a top six side where they've got the resources and the finance to buy the players that he needs. Because he wants grafters. I looked at that Leeds team and they graft from front to back. And that's what we want. We want some if you add a bit of grafters to the Spurs team, like a Stuart Dallas, like a Calvin Phillips, like a Harrison into that Spurs squad, we go from mediocre to top four overnight.
But we've got guys like...
I agree. I don't think you'll miss Nagelsmann. I mean, surely your scars for Andreas Villas-Boas. He was Nagelsmann once upon a time. And, you know, you went there and he was found out. You know, it was King's new clothes. I'd be careful what you wish for in terms of young managers from Europe coming in there. But Bielsa, yes. I tell you what, he may not do... I'd only give him maybe a 1 or 2 year contract. He'd give it everything he's bloody got in the first year. Yeah.
He does, yeah.
I rather that. I looked at him on the weekend. I looked at Ryan Mason, and it was literally a man against the boy. You know, Ryan Mason's starting Gareth Bale and Dele Alli against a high-pressing, fully fit Leeds team. I mean, even us fans who haven't got a UEFA badge can tell that was a stupid mistake. And, Bielsa was able to make the right changes and really kill us, really. And so I think someone with his head who knows when to make changes, but also gets the players working hard. Son and Kane, they look lethargic. I think, yes, it's something about what you were talking about, Ian, that strange season syndrome, the stops and starts, the topsy-turvy. But Leeds look pretty fit, in all honesty. And I think if Tottenham can get someone like Bielsa in, it's not going to cost too much money, but he's going to overachieve because Leeds are overachieving.
He's out of contract. He's out of contract. He'll cost you nothing.
Even better. I mean, what the hell are we waiting for? Daniel Levy, if you are watching the Final Whistle show, you know what to do. You did the right thing in getting rid of Jose. Now you need to bring in Bielsa. Look, gentlemen, I just want to quickly just follow on.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Quick question. So, among the Arsenal group that I've got on, there's a lot of debate about who would come in as manager. So, people have got their favourites and everything else. So, actually, got a City fan and 2 Spurs fans. So, take rivalry out of this. So could you see Allegri competing in the Premier League?
No, I feel adamant. Keep the faith in Arteta. You haven't got enough strength. You can have a magician coming into Arsenal, but you haven't got the strength in the team and the squad for the best. Even if Pep Guardiola went there, he'd screw it up. I think Arteta needs to develop the young players from the bootlaces up. It's going to take you 3 or 4 years. But he could create you a mini Barcelona with some of those young players. But you've got to give him time, like Wenger had time, like Ferguson had time. And you would be mental to get rid of Arteta now and, chuck your hand in for some other guy who's going to turn up. Because you just, in my humble opinion, you don't have the players to build on.
I think you should come into our group chat because half the people in our group chat are literally a Arteta out. And it's quite bad. It's quite toxic.
They need to think a bit deeper. They need to look at the depth of the players and the money available. Now, unless there's someone's going to chuck hundreds of million at it, but you can't for fair play. No, you're going to have to be patient. You have some wonderful young players. Let Arteta build it from there. Get some of the deadwood out of there, and know that it's a 3-4 year journey.
Last thing for me quickly. It's just they according to Cronkies, apparently there's a heavily sizable budget for summer.
I doubt it's COVID.
I was going to say that Ian's a better man than me, to be honest, because I was going to highly recommend Tony Pulis. I think with the way that you guys have been playing this season, you just need to revert back to basic football, which is...
I think you should get some of those.
Kick it long from the back into a Aubameyang.
Stick with Arteta. Be patient. Be patient.
Nah, jokes aside, I think Arteta is a good manager, and I think that's the thing about the game these days. I think if you give the managers enough time, they will turn things around.
That's the problem, though. In this age, there's no time for that anymore. It's not like your Arsenal or your Fergies where you get 20 odd years. Now you get a year or two, and if you don't succeed, you're out.
I think fans have become so impatient. I don't think social media has helped. I had a little rant today in the Spurs group saying that our fans have been spoiled over the years, and they think Tottenham are a big club, even though we've been flirting with the big boys, but we're not really a big club like that. What have we won? Our fans are living in like some dreamland. They think Levy's a crap manager. I had such a rant. We're actually going to do a show about it. And some of these fans have just been so lost in what Poch has done for Spurs. Like they think we're this big club. We should be achieving all this stuff, but we're in a process and we're going to get there eventually. But take your time and build on what we got.
And just picking up on what you were saying, that's why I didn't really want Poch.
They're good chairman.
One thing that always surprises me is that when a manager does well, and then they come into the Premier League as an example, and they don't finish in the top 10, and then they lose their job. That's ridiculous. This person's brought you from the Championship into the Premier League. They deserve to keep their job. I mean, I'm looking at people like Chris Hughton, who was doing a very good job at Newcastle and lost his job. He even lost his job at Brighton. And to be fair, they're not much further away from where they were when he was a manager. Yeah, they're playing better football, but where they are in the Premier League, is around about the same place in the table, and so it does beg the question of what are we doing. But we did, as Spurs fans, I think we've got short-term memories. I think fans are like fish bowls, you know, and goldfish bowls. You know, you forget where you come from. Poch had overachieved, was doing a great job.
The team was never really that good.
What's that?
The best example of that is West Brom. What a scumbags! You know, what's his name? The manager who brought them up?
Slaven Bilic.
Oh yeah, he shouldn't have got sacked.
Yeah,
He
Bilic.
won the championship. They were never with that budget going to set the league on fire, and they
100%.
chuck him out for Sam Allardyce. That's a disgraceful short-term decision with Far East owners. You know, that was the poorest decision of the year.
I agree with you, 100%.
And yet Norwich will come back up. I desperately hope Fulham stick with Scotty Parker because I think he'll build an even better team. I think he's a great manager in the mix. Chris Houghton, I'm loving the pieces he's had. Rough look in some places, he'll make it good. But yeah, I agree. I mean, decisions like the West Brom one was a shocker when getting rid of Bilic. He'd done all the hard work. He's a good manager.
No, he is. He is.
He got a job straight away in China, but at some stage he should come back to a team.
100%. So
I don't know if that was a personality thing why they really sacked him, because realistically they shouldn't have sacked him for how they're playing. They're playing well. Sorry, go on, Deji.
Yeah.
I think the decision was taken on a loss report or a balance sheet.
We're getting ready to wrap up, but you were in your kind of weekend review. You started to talk about this kind of fatigue and this strained season. Would you like to elaborate for the audience some of the things that you've been noticing both here and on the continent in terms of this fatigue creeping into the game and maybe impacting on some of the results that we've been seeing in these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think where's the energy gone? Firstly, it was a very short summer break. I think next, there's been an awful lot of injuries. It seems more prone this season, and therefore you've got more players doing more games. I think you've got the psychological effect big time, particularly the international players worried about their families in different countries, etc., not being able to see them and that on that basis. I think when everyone goes, oh, he's out for a few weeks with COVID, but with the greatest respect in the world, us four aren't top athletes. How does that take the edge off a top athlete? How do they recover? You look at Newcastle and everyone goes, oh, aren't they doing really well now? You've got to remember, they were the club who were the most wiped out by COVID at some stage, and it affects different ways, different strains. And then back to this stadium performance. And you never thought you'd hear me say, but I feel for Liverpool. They were defending their title. And I more than losing their central defender, they lost their crowd. Anfield is a very noisy, very passionate place right up to the pitch. So is Everton, so is Palace. And I agree at Spurs. If I can take back to another nightmare Aguero penalty miss when the last game I was at Spurs, when City was sitting comfortably at 1-0, everything was going hunky-dory. And then Aguero missed the penalty and then Spurs scored 2. And it's the first time I've been to the new stadium. When Spurs scored, it was like an aircraft taking off. The acoustics that they've created in that stadium are sensational. And you're right, one goal and that would have boomed. And again, it's back to this, why is it flat? Why is there energy? When you've got 50, 60,000 fans going bananas in passion, like I see at Palace, behind the team generally, really passionately behind the team, that gives you that extra yard, gives you that extra effort. You've got to concentrate more as a defender because you'll get some stick. I don't think we should underestimate any of those factors. And maybe you're right, Deji, VAR pisses a few players off. If I could just add, not just to the line decision, but also the crazy offside. The flag doesn't go up till they put the ball in the net. Nobody knows when to celebrate. Not at home, not on the pitch. That's a bit energy sapping, So, yeah, I think it's been a strange season. But from the only political note I'd say is I do not want us as a country to race back to full grounds and do in India. We've got to learn lessons from what's happened in India.
That's true.
This is not like, hey, let's everyone get back to the grounds and Cheltenham Festival and Ascot and all that sort of stuff. We need to proceed with caution. We need
Well
to
said.
proceed.
Well said.
Even with
I
the
agree with you.
Ian, I think
Yeah.
well said. Marlon, did you want to come in? Well said.
Yes, just continue what Ian was saying. I think the football standard has dropped, to be honest. I think it is because there's too much football. With the whole Spanish league, I don't think it's that good no more. I think the Italian league ain't good. I just think, as I said in general, is the whole football it ain't been that good this season. I think it is what you said, partly the fans, but I just also think they've played so much football, the standards have just dropped. But as you said as well, when there are fans there, it does give you that extra boost. So let's see. But I agree with exactly what Ian said. Don't rush fans back neither.
Presley, your thoughts as well? Final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I can't wait to to watch the games and have the fans back in and hearing it all roaring. But on the same token, I don't want it to be never locked down. I don't want obviously the infection to go up like in India. So if you can watch it from home and just stay safe at the moment. I think that's the best thing. And then obviously, hopefully, with the Euros obviously coming in, hopefully by that point it's a lot better by that point. And then next season, it's doors are open, vaccines are all kicked in, and we can get back to the games and back to football how it used to be. And that's where I want to be.
Yeah, well said. And I think it's a classic case, like Ian was saying, that sometimes too much of something can actually be bad for you. And on one hand, the idea of having more football seems like a good idea because we love the game so much, but actually too much football is having a detriment. And, Bielsa said something interesting on the weekend. He thought that the new format was wrong, and he actually said it should be less teams in the Champions League, because that would create a kind of better quality of Champions League. And I think there's something about that. And I think sometimes we as fans, we just got to stand up. I think clubs are in this kind of...
Your sponsors. Are you frozen?
We will continue to pay. We will continue to turn up. But sometimes it's the welfare of the players that we need to put above everything else. And like you're saying about COVID, we can't be risking people whilst we're still in the pandemic, and safety first. And I this is a separate conversation, but we've got 8 games that we're hosting at Wembley over the summer holidays, and whether that makes sense or not. I mean, I'm not here to give any political advice, but just sticking it out there that we need to put welfare above sport and sport and money. Look, as a final thing now, I just want to show you the fans out there, the kind of league table of results. At the moment, without financial advice, I am sitting pretty at the top of the tree with 12 points.
That looks dodgy.
In terms of the score lines.
That don't look right.
Marlon's in third.
I think we need a VAR decision.
I think we do.
There's no VAR needed here, lads. It's not financial advice, but had people been following some of my score predictions, they would be sitting pretty at the top of the tree. You've noticed that Ian will be soon to be joining this Premier League standing, and we will see who will be sitting pretty at the top. Be interesting to know and get comments from the audience who you think is going to finish at the top of the tree come end of the season. As for me personally, I think I'm doing a runaway like Man City, and I'm going to walk this in the next couple of weeks. But thank you very, very much. We've managed to bring it in within 33 minutes. We've got the kickoff show this Friday with guests. We are on the route to doing the show within 30 minutes, and we've got some fantastic ideas this Friday. So please like and subscribe, join the show, be interactive, give comments. We very much appreciate it. And also join us on the Final Whistle show, which is now on a Monday, 8:30, live and direct. On that note, I guess it's good night.
Cheers.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Cheers. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Your seat.